Let's see. Jim Howard here in Fort Worth, Texas. Today's date, it's November 20th of 2023, and it's 6:05 p.m. You're going to see the little message below. It should disappear. I think I've got it set for, I think it will disappear. I've set it for 50, whoops, there it goes. What do you think about, well, 60 seconds is as long as you can set that for. But what do you think about that? And I could do some other things, like that. Let's see, CNN News. This story on OpenAI is amazing. I don't understand the entire. I don't understand very much of it at all. It's just the whole situation of everything here is just so unbelievable. If you're interested in that, now this is about the politics of, of the thing. Right now it's not about the money. Well, it's about money making too. Just the whole thing is amazing. I'm back using my headset. It works better. It sounds better. And I don't think this had anything to do with it, but there was been a few times, I think it's just something that you have to expect with bandwidth and that kind of stuff, that, and I'll be talking and it'll pause for a little bit or something. That's just, believe me, it's better than 300 baud, which as I told the followers of my bulletin board system when they asked if I said, Jim, you should get a 1200 baud modem. And I said, well, 300 baud that's reading speed. So times have changed. I used this OpenAI a little bit. I don't, what did I do with that? Oh, that's where I mentioned this before, where I asked it, what is Howard's notebook? And then it pulled up that information that you see. You'll see when you have, let's see, go to my page. Where's my page? Okay, I need to go over here and go to what am I trying to show you? I forgot. Never mind. I've got a cushion coming for this chair. This chair hurts my butt. And I ordered, a long time ago, I ordered a cushion from Amazon. And it didn't hold up very long, I guess because I'm fat. No, but it didn't hold up very long. So this is a new one. That was one of these things that Amazon, or no, I think it was CNN has, on down at the bottom, advertisements. I just think, but several of you said when I complained about why does CNN's front page have so much advertising on there, and several of you come back, well, they need to make money too, and so I guess you're right, but they just, as you can see some of these advertisements just all over the place. But anyways, a cushion. Some of these things down at the bottom, it's like when you see these stories or whatever, it's pretty amazing. But they got these stories and that they put in, they got, it just seems like they way overdo it. Um, by the way, I mentioned that I'm using this browser. What is it? Blade? What is it? What? I put the mouse over to see if it shows. What is the name of it? I've forgotten already. But anyway, let's. Okay, look at Well, of course now there's of course they act like they're talking about a story. But oh, are you watching it? No, you're not. Okay. Yeah, you are. Okay. Some of these things they make them out like they're stories, but they're advertisements. Okay, now but then of course you see there's a whole bunch of stuff that is, taken out of here by this browser. And I do recommend it. Made a video on it a few videos back. I'm really liking it. I'm just so used to using Chrome, but I'm anyway on that. Let's see. Let me go back here. Let me go back here. And let me shut this down. Close window. Okay. Brave. It's the Brave. Brave. Browser. Now, and in the past I've switched, I've used everything, and I've, used that in the past and everything. They've got it really perfected now, but the way it worked out for me, now maybe it would not work out the same way for you, is so I'm using Chrome, and I have a bunch of other stuff installed. But when I did Brave, installed Brave, as I went through the procedure, I said, yes, pull in my tabs, pull in this, pull in that, and then it would come up to like my password security program or whatever. Yes, use that. I did that. And everything was all this stuff was loaded for me. I didn't have to, I think I almost had to do zero and everything is working great. So I really recommend you think about Brave, using it. Why am I recommending that when I don't get any money for that? Oh, because I don't get any money for hardly anything. I'd be in shock if I got some money for something. Speaking of that, why did I want to come over here? Guess I want to go to Amazon. That's it. Now, Amazon, this is stuff that I've looked at, stuff I've bought, stuff I'm thinking about buying, all that kind of stuff. I don't have any problem with this. I mean, this is all advertising, and I'm glad to see all this. Of course, they're having their black something or whatever, whatever they think. I think I'm going to get one of these things, by the way. I think it's on my wish list. To click on my belt or something, and it will flash. And because I'm out, we don't have a car, and I'm out. I shouldn't be out, especially with my eyesight. I shouldn't be out at night. But that'll maybe keep somebody from running over me. And they have a bunch of things like that if you know my situation or whatever. And you have something that really recommend or whatever, then I guess if I click on it, it's just going to show me other. Well, it shows that product. Let's see here. Okay, you clip it on your bag or your whole bunch of places. I definitely need that when I'm out, especially I haven't got my. Oh, that's a problem, by the way, for me. I'm in January having cataracts surgery done on both eyes. And in this room someplace, I put all the paperwork that I got, because there's things in December that I need to do. Times I need to go to the certain doctor to have some tests done in order to make sure it's okay for, that kind of. I've got to have that stuff done. And in my room here someplace, I know it's in my room. I knew it was, they printed up at the eye doctor's place, all the information that I have to see such and such a doctor for just a general checkup. They want certain things, and it kind of, so someplace in here, and I've actually looked for a couple of days, but I'm just going to have to start in one corner. I've got a bunch of, ouch, notebooks like this. In fact, I gave a bunch away to a neighbor kid here. I mean, I bought them from Amazon, this many. I've got some other notebooks and stuff, and the kid was outside playing or something with his sister or something, and I went, gave him brand new, that were unwrapped, they were still wrapped. And but in the back of one of these is, and it's not this is the Verizon information. I finally paid the Amazon or the Verizon. It went okay. I had it set up to, where I can go and click. Verizon, they have a bunch of things. If you will, they give you a special bargain if you take let's see here. Let's see. I'm hesitating a little bit because I want to make sure my personal information doesn't show up. They've got a bunch of bargains that they have if you sign up. Now, but I don't want to have. I don't make enough money. I mean, I don't make enough money to. Oops. Okay, not giving out info. They have a bunch of bargains. If they knock off, I forget if it's $5 or $10 or something or other, if you automatically have them take out of your bank account or however you pay to pay the monthly bill. I don't want to do that because I have to watch how much money I have in the bank, in my account, and I just don't want somebody to take out, X amount of money. Now I do have the which hasn't been a problem yet, but the spell checking program that is so great. I think it's like $128 a year, or of course you can pay monthly. But I decided to pay it all at once, and I think it comes due in January or something, and boom, it hits. And all of these companies that do, anyway, back to Verizon, they have some good deals. And, one is if you let them take out the money automatically, then they reduce your bill by, I don't know, a certain amount of money. And they have other things, like that. But I definitely don't like the idea of money coming out of my, bank account or whatever account I'm using. But I think, I'm not sure, there should be some type of, I want to go back to, see. I'm thinking of two or three things at the same time, and that's not good. I have trouble. I have trouble with one. I have trouble like with my name or my age or whatever. I think there should be. Well, I'm not crazy about rules, and well, I am crazy about rules in a way, yeah. But I don't think a business should be able to, if some, okay, let's take what's the name of the anyway, if you sign up for something, Windows, whatever their things are that I pay for that I don't even know I pay for. And I never use them. I've never used them, I don't think. I used Word a couple times. I'm 82 years old, been online since 1982 or 1958. Can't remember now. I think that when you sign up for something, they should tell you what the amount is, which they do, and they can offer you offers. Hey, pay for the entire year. Pay for 3 months. Do that kind of. But they should have to tell you how much it is, and then before the date comes due, they should send, and it should be like, I don't know. Let's say that the rule is that 90 days ahead of time, they have to send you a thing that on such and such a date. But then they should have to, now if they want to say no, okay, 90 days is too far, But then there should also be, 30 days before on such and such, they should explain it to you. I've mentioned this in a video in the past. I'm not sure I've explained it well, but I bought 2 or 3 domain names. In the past, I bought a bunch of domain names, some of them that I used, and some of them I just never used, but I paid for them. But a while back, I don't even remember doing it, but I'm sure I did. Back X number of years ago, I bought 3 domain names. And I didn't realize it. Well, maybe I did at the time, but I paid for them, and they expired in, I don't know, let's say 6 years or something. That's weird, Seems like you would, renew them every couple years or something. It was something weird. I totally forgot about it. I don't even remember it now, but I'm taking their word for it. But when I had somebody hack into my bank account, and then I had to, get a new number from my, bank number and what have you, do that. a thing popped up and said they were not able to take out the money. And it was like, who in the heck is that? And it was this name of a company I've never heard of for, domain names. And it was like, I think $300 or something like that. And anyway, I logged in, $300 and it was like 3 of them. I think only one of them was, maybe I'm getting mixed up on that. But anyway, it was like $300. Let's say 1 domain name, but there was 3. Maybe the other, anyway, let's say 1. And it was $300. It was a domain name. Why did they pick that domain name? And $300, I'd never pay $300 for any domain name. I don't care what it was, if it was, I don't know, White House, if I could get the White House domain name or something, no, I wouldn't pay for, So anyway, I logged in and said, I want to delete, I don't want to renew this thing and domain name. And the guy said, oh, well, so remember, like $300. Oh, I'll tell you what I'll do. We'll make it $150. And I said, no, I don't want it at all. And I think that they just, which I guess was smart of them probably, they set the thing up, somebody buys domain names. They didn't send you in each year any kind of an announcement, or they weren't taking out money. But I mean, they should, that's another thing, they should, they should inform you. I mean, it's, by the way, I forget the name of the company. If I find it, I'll put a link below to it. Now, I don't know, I think they may charge like $50 or something. But I actually think, even for me, but for a whole bunch of people, I think you pay them about $50. You give them your information. Hopefully they're trustworthy. And their computers automatically go through everybody on every business on the internet or something. And, you tell them what you want. I guess you tell them delete everything. Or I guess you tell them, show it to me and then I'll decide, but whatever. But I heard about that on Tech TV, and I think it's one of their advertisers, or was. And the guys there on Tech TV, that's not what it's called. It's not called Tech TV on, called something else. But they told how much the money, they told it to turn off, stuff. And they were saving, $200 or $300 or more of things that they didn't know they were even paying for. And if I can, or if you know the link of this or the name for this company, I'll try to find it, and I'll put the link below now. And you can see how their works, and maybe there's a scale. Maybe you pay less for certain things, or they'll have a thing where they'll go totally through everything. And that seems like well worth it for. I need to be using notebooks. I have a bunch of these, by the way, with different stuff in them. There again, if I'm looking for something. I think my stuff from my eye surgery is in the back. I think I put it in the back of here because the company, the hospital or whatever, clinic, they gave really good information, about 4 pages of, things that I need to do at a certain time, all that type of stuff, all of it. And I think I put it in the back of a notebook. But I got a bunch of these notebooks all over in different kinds and different sizes. Oh my God. I want to be organized, but I'm actually not organized because I've got too many Okay, I just moved some, or I'd reach over and pick up the others. So, in case some of you, I didn't put an explanation for it, but this video down, or this video here with the right here that's lighting up and changing. That is my Radio Shack Model 1 computer from, 1982. I got that in, actually I got that before, the computer before 1982. I think I got it in 1978 when they first came out. And it wasn't until modems were, I guess, invented. Well, I guess they were invented, but it was 1982 I got, a modem. And then I've been online ever since. And that's the thing, Radio Shack. I've mentioned this a few times. I actually had a Texas Instrument calculator from back before then, and it was programmable. It came, I think it came with a chip you can put in it, and you could land. It was not, it wasn't as good as the stuff we have nowadays or whatever, but you could, by entering the numbers, how much the blasters to fire and that kind of stuff, you could land it on the moon or Mars or something or other. And so I think that was the first computer that I actually had, a Texas Instrument. I wonder if I did a search on that. I bet it will show up. Let's go over here and do search for. I should go to Wikipedia. There you go. And go over here. TI-58. Yep, here it is. There it is. Yeah. Wow. It cost me $300. And I don't want. I bought a printer for it, so they would go into this printer that printed on what do you call it? Heat thermal paper or something like that. And it had, a card that you could put in. You could put a card into this thing. The TI-58, I think I had the 58, is an early programmable calculator that was manufactured by Texas Instrument from 1977 until its successor, I've never heard of this one, TI-SR-52. The TI-58, and later, I had the 58, were cut down. They were cut down versions of the TI-50. I guess I had the TI-59. That because it used magnetic cards, and anyway. So yeah, you would not believe what I paid for that printer, for that TI-58. I took it. I was working at, I think, Trinity Lutheran Hospital security. And I took that in to work. And the director of security, who I've mentioned before, oh my God, I've mentioned him a lot of times. I'll skip that entire thing, except he has, or had, he passed away, the director of security, a few years ago. But I worked for him for, I think, 5.5 years or something like that. And he was driving me crazy. I just couldn't understand. I actually kind of liked him, and I mentioned this before. Now, this is a stupid reason, but man, he he gave me merit reviews that were unbelievably good. I deserved them all. I mean, actually, it was all accurate that he put, but I never had any merit reviews like that before for security, hospital security. I never had any after that, like he gave me. And I knew he was smart. Okay, that's the difference. Anyway, he had, and I just found out that when Trump became, running for president, and when he became, president or whatever, and then everybody's going, what the fuck's wrong? What is wrong with this guy? And some books came out, and then there were people being interviewed about what's wrong with Donald Trump, and then these people they bring this up, well, he has such and such, and they explained, this is how it works, and I was like, oh my God. Back then, the director of security, he had that. Now the only problem, the thing was, the director of security was very smart, but he made insanely stupid decisions. And Donald Trump is just stupid, and also has this problem, but the decisions that the director of security made, he was anyway, I took in, let me cut this out. Anyway, I took in my TI 59 calculator, and then I said, Mr. Ross, look at this. And I said, here, try this. This is where a lunar lander thing. And of course, all you did was just, do that. And he right away just landed it without it crashing, where I had to try to land it, and I got the hang of it or whatever, and he just stuff like that. Yeah, he was very smart, but he had the same thing that whatever that is that Donald Trump has. Donald Trump is stupid, but Donald Trump also has these other problems, and it was just interesting that a guy who was very smart, who was driving me crazy, because I thought, okay, I did grievances against him, and I won every one of them. Now, he was the director of, he should have won something. Of course, I wouldn't have done a grievance unless I knew I was 100% right and that I was going to win. And also, I knew not to be, now, of course, I was the only one that did grievances. Everybody else was terrified to do them, even the nurses in the hospital. One time, not at that hospital, but at Research Medical Center, a bunch of nurses wanted to do a grievance against the hospital administration over something. I was working midnight shift then. And I came in, and the other security says, Jim, nurses want to talk to you because they want to do a grievance on something. And they were asking around each other, they have most of these nurses, have bachelor's degrees, if not higher, in being an RN, And some of them have, bachelor's, and some have master's. And none of them had any idea, how do we do a grievance, where do we get a grievance form, and that kind of stuff. And they had to ask me, the night watchman, coming on duty. But anyway, if I mentioned this before in a couple of videos, I think, if I had just known that this director of security at Trinity Lutheran Hospital, where I worked for him for 5.5 years, if I had just known, okay, he has this condition, I never heard of that condition. I don't think anybody heard of that condition until Trump came around. If I'd have just known, I would have just been bailed out. I had job offers, actually probably better job offers, I mentioned that before, like a Johnson County Community College. They said, hey, Jim, you got, You applied. We want you to work for us. But, and then they told me something, and I said, I don't want to work on it. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, but that would drive me crazy. And, but if I just known, I would have bailed out of this other, although I had some experiences. One thing I have is a weird sense of humor. I think a couple people told me that I had a like a UK or like an English, like a UK or England, type of. And I don't think that's correct, but that's what they said. They said different things about my sense of humor, but like if I wanted to tell you a joke, by the way, like I watch, Netflix, is it? Yeah. And they have all those comedians, some great comedians there doing their hour or hour and a half thing. And they just do fantastic comedy. And I see stuff on there that's pretty, even a short item, be a short item. The guy that has the animals, the fake animals, and then he talks for them and stuff. All these people, I see that and I think that is really funny. And I'm not a person who usually, it's for me to laugh at something, laugh hard. That's really unusual. I can think of some, I'm not going to list them, because I don't want to use up any more time here. But I can't tell you a joke that I've heard. If somebody tells me a funny joke or whatever, I can't tell it back to you. But if you or I are having a conversation, or if I'm having a conversation with somebody about something, things can be said, and then I will just throw in a couple words or something or other, and people will be rolling on the floor. It's so funny. Sometimes it's, I've talked about that, so I won't talk about that again, but like that, the one guy, the director of security who gave me the great merit reviews, he was very smart. He was been an officer in the United States Army, an officer. He got disability. He was in a car. He was in the military, and he was in the car, I think, with other military officers. Maybe they had a driver. I don't know who was. I don't know. But there was a car crash, and everybody was killed except for this Bob Ross, and he got, of course, total disability. But he was able, to work, but he had 100% disability, so he got his paycheck, or he got his disability or whatever. And they didn't even take out for taxes because he had a disability or whatever. But with my sense of humor, there's times that the director of security would say something, and I'd usually just try to be working, hey, Mr. Ross, let me get to work, And then he'd say something, and then I would say something really short, and I was joking, but then he would go ballistic, If you can get out of my department and blah, blah, whatever. And then in fact, I would double down, and then I would do a grievance about the thing. And they were things that I think somebody else would have, I think a lot of people would have said, Jim, cut the joking out, but not him and not a lot of people. But I can throw those things in there. They just pop into my head. And maybe those things shouldn't pop in my head, but sometimes people say, I can't believe you said that. Like, that was same hospital, but back a bunch of security directors got together, hospital security directors, and put together a 40-hour class, basic training for security, hospital security officers, basic training, And so at the hospital that I was working at, for the guy who was, we were like with Kansas City, we were the first, He sent all the supervisors, me included, so there was like 5 of us or something, I think. So we went, and then the assistant administrator at the hospital showed up for Friday, our graduation. I mean, it wasn't, it was like our the thing. And he was the only one that came, I think. None of the other, even the hospital, I think, that we were taking the training at, Baptist Hospital, I don't think they sent their assistant administrator or anybody like that to, but from Trinity, the director of security there, he got his boss to come out. So we're sitting there at the end of the day, or maybe there was another part of the thing to go, and the assistant administrator from the hospital, he's there, Mr. Ross is there. The other supervisors, are from our hospital, are there, security supervisors. And the hospital assistant administrator, who I liked, of course he was over us, over our director of security. So we were just sitting there, and then he said, he says, I think Mr. Ross said it. He says, I don't think you guys know that, can't remember his name now. The hospital did not want security to be armed. And he said, no, they need to be armed. And so you guys were armed for that reason. And I said, whatever his name was, well, I'm really, you made the right decision, and, great for you standing up to, his boss, and all that type of stuff. And, I forget, I said it real better than I'm saying it now. And I said, but I'll just let you know now, if at any time the hospital decides that they don't want their security officers armed, I will be quitting immediately. And then, so, then after we go to, the hospital administrator goes back, and that kind of stuff. And then the other security officer says, Jim, I can't believe that she said that to him, And I said, I was just telling him, the truthful situation or whatever. I can't. And then when I got back to the hospital, Mr. Ross says to me, I can't believe that you said that to him. And I said, so I said things like that. But when I said them, that was, that was just the way it was. But there were things that I said to the director of security at Trinity that were jokes. He would say something, and then I would say something back to him that was funny. And then he would go ballistic. But then when he went ballistic, I didn't say, hey, that was a joke. I'll give you one past example. I've mentioned it before in the past, but I was actually working. I mean that, because I did. Every job I ever had, I worked. No matter what they paid me, no matter what the conditions were, I worked. Now, I quit some places, like I hired in one day. I went to a place, that made gigantic trucks. I'm getting sidetracked. Gigantic trucks that they haul milk in and liquids like that. So I forget what the material was. Not aluminum, I don't think, that we had to weld on. Can't remember now. It wasn't tin. Forget what it was. But anyway, they hired me in. And then other guys that work there, they said, oh, by the way, older guys, you got to drink a lot of milk. Drink a lot of milk because of the chemicals when we're welding on this stuff. It gets in. You got to drink a lot of milk. And so then I crawled in the tank and through the little hole, and I'm inside. And I said, where's the fans to suck the air out of here? We don't have any of those. And I got out of the thing and went over and told the foreman or whatever he was, you need to have fans sucking the air out of all of these trucks, truck bodies or whatever. Well, these guys, and I said, I don't care. I said, I'll be back tomorrow. If you have fans, then I'll continue working, but no fans. And so I came back the next day, no fans, and I said, I quit. And I did. But, okay, the story about the director of security. So anyway, he comes down the hall. Jim. Well, first, okay, there was a step before that. Jim, he comes in, he says, yeah, there's 2 steps. He says, I'm going to be testifying before Congress in Washington, D.C. And I said, wow. And he said, you believe me and everything? I said, yeah. You said you're going to be doing it, you're going to be doing it. So you're going to be speaking before a congressional. He says, yeah, it's on security. And he said they asked me to testify, and he says, did you know that if you testify that you have to, everything has to be typed out, and you have to give it to these people, secretaries or whatever they are, and it has to be what you're going to say, what you're going to, and I said, I didn't know that. He said, yeah. He says, so I sent my testimony that I'm going to make to them, and the person, he says, this guy is the head one over, and he says he deals with everybody who goes before, before them. He's a chief secretary, I don't know what they call the guy, I can't remember now, And this guy, sent me back a letter. It must have been before the internet, maybe, I don't know. And he said that mine was the best, and I believe that actually, the best that he had ever seen presented, in this thing that you do. And I said, wow, that's really something. And so oh no, that's where I did. Okay, there was 2. Okay, I forgot. I'm getting old. Click, stop here. There's 2 stories. So anyway, I'm there, and he's telling me, and he's the secretary, our security secretary, and the lieutenant are in their office, and we're standing at the door, and Mr. Ross says, he told me that I'm this is the best presentation that he's ever seen presented. It was time, I was going home, so Jim. And then I said, Mr. Ross, all of us, we all know what you are and how you are. And I forget how I put it. Now it sounds stupid. But I said, we all know. And nobody has to tell us how smart you are and all that kind of stuff, And then I turned and left. And then I heard him telling the secretary and the lieutenant, see, Jim knows. He knows. And I left. And I kind of thought, I shouldn't have said that. So the next day when I come back, the lieutenant is to go to work, and 8 in the morning, whatever. Lieutenant's there and the secretary's there, and I walk up to the door, and they just look at me, and they just start I didn't say anything like, what did you think? I just walked up, and they just started laughing. Now the other thing, which is kind of connected with that, is there was 2 stories. He goes and he testifies before Congress. And there was 3 directors of security. One director of security was from a nuclear power plant. He was in charge of security at the nuclear power plant. And there was another guy, and he was in charge of, I forget what, security for, I don't know if it was munitions manufacturing. I forget what it was. And then there was Mr. Ross. And so Mr. Ross says, look, here's my testimony. And I said, Mr. Ross, please, I got stuff I need to do. Now he was my boss. He should have been. I guess he thought I should be able to go back to his office and sit on his lap or something. I said, I got stuff that I need to do. And he says, no, I want you to read it, Jim. I said, well, could I read it later? And he says, no, read it now. I want you to read it now. Read it now. So I said, okay. And it wasn't very long. I go in and I sit down and then I read it. He's waiting out there, and I read it, what his testimony was, and then I come out. And he said, what did you think, Jim? And I said, Mr. Ross, I'm sorry, very sorry, but you committed perjury before a congressional committee, and I'm going to have to contact Senator Stuart Symington and report that. And he goes fucking crazy. And, I told him why, I said, here's where you committed perjury. And he goes fucking crazy. And, oh man, I really shouldn't have done it, but if he hadn't have gone, if he'd have said, Jim, are you pulling my leg? Or if he'd have said, if he was a different person, and the thing is, I read the thing, and Congress is asking, let's see, you're the director of security at such and such, nuclear power plant. What kind of training do your security people get? Well, they're trained in the use of, because it's a nuclear power plant, and the rules are something that the security that a nuclear power plant has to have, it has to have enough people and weapons, and the right kind of weapons, that if that place is attacked by a group of terrorists, that it can hold out for 30 minutes or 45. It's however long it will take whatever city, let's say Miami, and there's a nuclear power plant outside of Miami and a bunch of places, How long would it take the city of, to send their SWAT teams and everybody and get there? How long would it take the sheriff's department to get their people there? How long would it take, and that's what it's required. You have to be able to do that. So the guy from the nuclear power plant says, our people are, trained to, use AK-47s and, a hand grenade. I don't know what, but they had to, and then they go to the next guy who, I forget what his, thing was. I think he might have been director of security at like a shopping mall or something, So, and the guy said, well, he might have said, well, we're not armed, there, but we do have training in baton use, or I don't know what he said. I forget, And then I knew Mr. Ross, what he was doing. I could see him, really. I could see him. And when I read the thing, he was looking around. There's cameras over there. There's cameras over there. Okay, there's a camera over there. He was doing that kind. I knew how he was. Plus, he was looking to see if there was, somebody going to come in, that he could, the president or something, which wasn't going to happen. So I said, okay, you committed. And he went ballistic. Later on, quite a few later on, he had a real nice wife, the director of security did. And I felt sorry later on because he went through a lot. I put him through a lot, but he put himself through that lot. He lied. He exaggerated things. He lied about stuff that's another thing that Trump did. So it's like some type of a characteristic where they lie about something that you're going to know it's probably a lie, and they lie about that kind of stuff. But anyway, I met his wife a couple of times. I met her later on, and well, Mr. Ross had bought a Cadillac, and he brought the Cadillac around every day for a while and parked it right outside the emergency room entrance. You know, I mean, we even, you know, some doctor would show up and we'd say, no, you need to park your car over there, doctor, or, you know, this, you know, stuff like that. You know, we're dealing with a doctor, even a doctor that's, you know, has operations and it's pretty important, you know. Mr. Ross really, he didn't put it anywhere. I mean, he put it over someplace, you know, over there, but it was just, and then he'd go in and bring out the director of food service, the director of housekeeping, you know, all these different department heads like he was, bring them out and show them his car. So anyway, his wife showed up, you know, later on, and I was about ready to go. I'd done 4 grievances at least, I think 5, and all kinds of. Oh, and it had been already set up that I told Mr. Ross I refused to wear my sergeant's bars, you know, and that kind of stuff. I still did my job, but I just couldn't take him anymore. And he'd said, well, you know, I said, I can't stand you anymore. You're driving me crazy. And he said, well, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to get a job someplace else. And he said, what are you interested in? And I said, oh, of course, I'm interested in computers and stuff like that and whatever. And he said, we've got a biomed department here at the hospital. And I said, oh, I said, I would love that. I said, but, you know, I don't have a degree from technical school in electronics or anything. And he said, go see so-and-so, the director, the guy that was in charge of, you know, that thing. And so I went over there and talked to the guy, and then I told him, when I got out of high school and the Army wouldn't take me, I did want to go, you know, be a TV repairman, you know, and go to school. That was, those guys turned into being, you know, in the beginning they were TV repairmen, you know, radio repairmen, then they became, and he said, Jim, he said, as soon as we get a vacancy here, you know, I'll hire you. As soon as there's and he says, we've got 3 or 4 people in the department that are looking to get better jobs. And he says, you can work here. And I said, but I don't have, he says, no, you know computers. And he says, we don't have any computers. We need to get set up with a computer and we can use you. And so I was hanging on for that. Well, anyway, I went back to the director of security, told the director of security, checked with him, whatever. The director of security put it in my merit review that as soon as there's an opening, you know, and he cleared it with, you know, human resources. He put it in my thing that as soon as there's an opening in the biomed department, Jim will be transferring to the biomed department. Those guys are paid really well. I was on a committee that, of the 4 or 5 of us that were on this committee that was looking into pay raises for everybody. And so we had to go through a checkoff list and everything about, you know, now we couldn't do, like I couldn't, you know, rate security and whoever, if there was a nurse or whatever, you know, but anyway, so we were doing receiving dock people, laundry people, dietary people, all these other categories other than nurses, which makes sense. And anyway, so biomed was on the list, and that's when I was like, oh shit. Because it was like, you know, what is the worst, like, this may not be exactly, what is the worst scenario that they could mess something up, you know, and of course they were dealing with expensive, you know, machinery that cost millions of dollars and stuff. And then there was other, you know, what are the working conditions, you know, or is it like the people who worked in food service, you know, in the kitchen or whatever? That was hot work, you know, so they got an extra, you know, somebody who had to work, outside when it was snowing, or a whole bunch of information entered into our checkoff list or whatever. And biomed was like, oh shit, you know. So it was all set up for me to go in. So at that point is when I decided I had to get. Oh, so anyway, Monday through Friday or whatever, the director of, the biomed department would have to come in the morning, and he'd get his keys from security and sign out. And I'd say, any openings? And he'd say, Jim, just hang on. 2 or 3 or 4 of these guys are out looking. They're going to get a job pretty quick. And I said, I don't think I can make it any longer. I do not think that I can physically, mentally stand it. And sure enough, I didn't. I went ballistic. But anyway, his wife came in, and so at that point, I didn't want to do any grievances against him. I just wanted out of there. Of course, if he'd have done something, which he did all the time, I would have had to do a grievance, because I felt like I didn't have any choice. But anyway, his wife showed up. And I'd seen her a couple of times, but the first time I actually talked to her, she showed up. And she said, "Oh, Jim," I think she said something like, "Is my husband being good?" And I said, "Oh, so he's, And then I kind of realized, and I knew I didn't realize, well, I did. I think I knew. I never thought of it, that when I made him like suicidal once, we were afraid that he was going to. Security offices were on the 6th floor, and when I did one grievance, he was always left his door open, and he was always in and out of his, But for like 3 or 4 days after I did my grievance that he was going to have to deal with, he went into his office and closed his door, and we were afraid he was going to maybe jump out of the window. But anyway, I never thought of that stuff, really. I mean, I never thought of him taking it home. I just didn't think about it. But anyway, she pulled in, said, is my husband being good? And I said, oh, yeah, no problems. And she said, well, what's he doing now? And I said, well, I called him, of course. When I called on the radio, even then, he decided that it would be good for our radio calls, our numbers. It would be better if they were. Oh, so like directors of securities at other hospitals usually would be like, Unit 1, or 1. Like I was 6 or something. That one hospital, I was 6. That was my number. And so he comes up, Jim, I'm changing the numbers. I'm going to be number 0. I think it was 0. And I said, because number 1, all the other hospital security directors, they're like number 1. I said, Mr. Ross. And he says, yep, it's going to be, that's what it's going to be. So, well, his wife came down then one time, and 6 to unit nothing. Your wife is down here. So I changed, 0 to nothing. He changed it. He did away with that. I had a lot of fun with him. But anyway, she came in and she said, well, what's he doing? And of course I called, for him. Yeah, your wife's down here. And she said, so what's he been up to today? And I said, well, he's been showing everybody his new car. And she said, we were in the military. And I said, yeah, I know that. And she said, we traveled around the country, the world. He was in Germany. He was in charge of he was in the military police, and he was in charge of the maybe other stuff, but he was in charge of the nuclear cannons. We had cannons that shot nuclear, cannons. Not helicopters. I mean, not, SAC bombers, but we had cannons that were in Germany. And his job was to, in charge of the details that would make sure nobody got hold of him and nobody fired him and that type of stuff. Then he was in Washington, D.C. during the time, and he was so upset with the hippies or whatever, and he was in charge of, I don't know where they were, which unit, but, surrounding something, and the hippies were coming up and putting flowers on the soldiers' bayonets or something or other, and he went, I guess, fucking crazy. But anyway, so she told me, she said, she said we never really had a place to live, before. Of course, they had a nice house now, and he told everybody about it. And then and I said, oh, I said, yeah. And then I thought about saying to her, but I didn't. I didn't have the courage to do that. I thought about saying, I think I've been a pain but I didn't. I thought about saying, Mrs. Ross, I think I've been a pain in the ass to your husband, and I never thought, I know it probably upsets him, and I never thought of him, maybe bringing it home to you, and I really apologize, for that, and if I've caused you any, that's what I thought about saying, but I didn't have the courage to say it, So, anyway. That's the stories. Yeah, I didn't. Oh, there's others about him and the things that I did and the things that he tried to do that he couldn't do. But anyway, I think I probably talked about him in the past. Thanks very much for watching.